You become very concerned about keeping the house lit. The only light you knew about was the light you created in the darkness with your precious candles. It became pretty lonely in there. You were cut off from everything, and the only comfort you felt was the sense of protection your host afforded you. You were no longer aware of exactly what you were so afraid of. You were just aware of always being scared and uncomfortable. It was all you could do just to try to hold yourself together. You even stopped reading and writing because of the lack of light. It was dark and you too were falling into darkness. Then one day, the housekeeper, who shared your overwhelming need to stay in the safety of the house, called you down to the storage cellar. You were amazed by what you saw. A full supply of emergency flashlights had been found that could be powered simply by shaking them. Your housekeeper had already set some up, and the cellar was fully radiant. This was a turning point in your life. You set about your business of trying to create light, beauty, and happiness within the confines of your house. You decorated each room and worked together to keep the light shining brightly until you went to sleep. You started reading and writing again, and it turned out that your housemate loved reading your writings. In fact, it was not just the artificial light that were lighting in the house, the ember of love had begun to glow in both of your hearts. Imagine the light you could create together instead of apart. You began spending all of your time with each other, and you even staged a marriage ceremony. It was so beautiful as you vow to take care of each other and bring love and light into your home. Compared to the darkness in which you had been living, this was heaven. One day you came across a book in your library. It interested you because it talked about the natural radiant light that exists outside. It even spoke of the bathing in the light, but it was talking about more light than you could ever imagine, without anyone having to do anything to create it. This was confusing to you after all. The only light you knew about was the artificial light from the candle and flashlight. How could you make that much light and keep it going? You didn't have a clue what this book was talking about because you could only view things in relations to the way you were living. You were living inside the house, therefore, you were living inside of the darkness. All the light that you could experience was limited to what you could create within the house. You had lived there for so long that your hopes, dreams, philosophies, and beliefs were founded upon being inside a dark house. Your whole world was about keeping together that life you had managed to build for yourself within the confines of the house. When you continue reading this seemingly mystical book, it spoke of what it was like to actually walk around in this natural light. It seems to be describing a self-luminous, omnipresent light that shines everywhere all at once. It is a light that will falls on everything constantly and evenly. Though you had no frame of reference for understanding this, it touched something deep inside of you. The book then discussed actually going outside, that is, going beyond the walls of the world you have created for yourself. In fact, it said that while you are attached anymore with the world you created to avoid darkness, you will never know the abundance of natural light that is beyond the confines of your house. How will you ever go outside when you are so dependent upon what you have built inside? The analogy of life inside this house is a perfect fit for our predicament. Our consciousness, our awareness of being, is living deep inside of us in an artificially sealed off area that is absolute. It has four walls, a floor, and a roof. It is so solid that no one ray of natural lights come in. The only light we get is what we manage to create for ourselves. If we don't create good situation for ourselves, there is darkness. So we are very busy decorating daily. We do this by trying to bring things in there with us, hoping to create at least a little light in the house of our own making, where we have sealed ourselves off. That is the visual. You are inside a house, totally shielded off from natural light, and the house is sitting in the middle of an open field full of brilliant light. But what is your house made of? What are your walls made of? How can they seal off all the light and keep you locked inside? Your house is made of your thoughts and emotion. The walls are made of your physique. That's what that house is. It is all your past experience. All your thoughts and emotions, all the concepts, views, opinions, beliefs, hopes, and dreams that you have collected around yourself. You hold them into place on all sides, including above and below you. You have put together in your mind a specific set of thoughts and emotions, and then you have woven them together in the conceptual world in which you live. This mental structure completely blocks you from whatever natural light is on the outside of its wall. You have walls of thoughts thick enough and closed enough to where nothing but darkness is inside that structure. You are so entrenched into paying attention to your thoughts and emotion that you never go beyond the border they create. If you want to see how restrictive your walls are, just start walking toward them. Let's say you have an emotional fear of heights. When you were young, you fell off a ladder, and the impression stayed within you. That is one of your walls. If you doubt that it's a wall, let's see you walk through it. Let's say something happened in it that activates this old feeling of fear and you decide to walk right in toward it. The closer you get, the more you will have the urge to pull back. That which collected from your past forms a boundary that you intuitively want to avoid. That's natural. That's what we do with walls. We avoid running into them. But because you avoid running into them, they lock you inside their perimeter. They become your prison because they are the boundaries of your awareness. Because you are not willing to approach them, you cannot see what is beyond them. When you approach the barrier areas of your thoughts and emotions, it feels like going into an abyss. You don't want to go near that place, but you can go there, and if you want to get out, you will go there. Eventually, you will realize that darkness is not what's really there. What is really there are the walls that are blocking the infinite light. When you are looking for light, that is a crucial distinction. If you see a wall and it's protecting you from unending darkness, you will not want to go there. But if you see a wall that is blocking the light, you will want to go there in order to remove the wall. It is often said that you must go through the darkness night in order to get to the infinite light. This is because what we call darkness is really the blockage of light. You must go past this wall. It's not really difficult to get past the wall. Time and again, every day, the natural flow of the life collides with our walls and try to tear them down. But time and again, we defend them. You must realize that when you defend yourself, you are really defending your walls. There is nothing else to defend in there. There is just your awareness of being and the limited house you built to live in. What you are defending is the house you built to protect yourself. You are hiding inside. If something happened to challenge the walls of your physique, you get highly defensive. You have built a self-concept, move inside, and now you defend that home with all you have. But what creates that inner home, other than the walls of your thoughts? When you say, I am a woman, and I am 45 years old, I am married to you, and I graduated from this school. Those are thoughts. The actual situation do not exist in there with you except in the form of thoughts that you cling to. But I was a cheerleader, and I was president of my senior class. That was 30 years ago. The situation do not exist anymore, but they exist inside of you, and they form the walls in which you live. What if somebody challenges your self-concept and breaks a little hole in it? What if somebody managed to shake one of those foundational thoughts that our house of your physique is built upon? Imagine if someone told you when you were 20 years old, wait a minute, those are not your parents, you were adopted, didn't they ever tell you? You will dumbly deny it until they show you the document. It will shake your Our whole inner being, just one wrong thought, and the structure start to crumble. Dream-induced fear and turmoil can open up inside of you simply because something is not the way you thought it was. It shakes you to the core of your being because it challenges the house of thought in which you are dwelling. To fix this, you start in with your rationalizations. I knew they were clearly nice. They were just like my real parent wouldn't have been. Imagine them adopting someone like me and bringing me up just like their own, and God, they were even more special than I thought they were. You patched that hole up very well. That's what we do with our walls. We keep them solid. Nothing is allowed to shake this wall. And notice that you patch the cracking wall with your thoughts. You patch with thoughts that which is made of thoughts. That's what we do. Just like the people who fearfully lock themselves inside a dark house in the middle of a sunlight field and then struggle to create some light, we work hard to build a world within the confines of our inner world that is better than the inner darkness. We decorate our walls with the memories of our past experiences and with our dreams of the future. In other words, we decorate them with thoughts. But just as the people in the house had the potential to step out of their own self-made, artificial world into the beauty of the natural light, you can step outside of your house of thoughts into the unlimited. Your awareness can expand to encompass, space, fast pace instead of the limited space in which you dwell. Then when you look back at the little house you built, you will wonder why you were ever in there. That is your journey out. True freedom is very close. It is just on the other side of your wall. Enlightenment is a very special thing, but in truth, one should not focus on it. Focus instead on the walls of your own making that are blocking the light. Of what's the purpose it is to build walls that block the light and then strive for enlightenment. You can get out simply by letting everyday life take down the walls you hold around yourself. You simply don't participate in supporting, maintaining, and defending your fortress. Imagine your house of thought standing in the middle of an ocean of light from a trillion stars. Even your awareness trapped inside the darkness of that house, struggling daily to live off the artificial light of your limited experiences. And now imagine the wall crumbling down and the effortless release of consciousness expanding into the brilliance of what is and always was. Now give the experience a name. Enlightenment. 13. Far, far beyond. Ultimately, the word beyond captures the true meaning of spirituality in its most basic sense. Going beyond means going past where you are. It means not staying in your current state. When you constantly go beyond yourself, there are no more limitations. There are no more boundaries. Limitation and boundaries only exist at the place where you stop going beyond. If you never stop, then you go beyond boundaries, beyond limitation, beyond the sense of self restricted, beyond easily infinite in all directions. If you take a laser beam and aim it in any direction, it will go on for infinity. It will only choose to be infinite if you created an artificial boundary that it could not penetrate. Boundaries create the appearance of finiteness in infinite space. Things seem finite because your perception hits mental boundaries. In truth, everything is finite. It is you who takes that which goes on forever and talks about a mile from here. What is a mile from here? It's nothing but a piece of infinity. There are no limits. There is just the infinite universe. To go beyond, you must keep going past the limit that you put on things. This requires changes at the core of your being. Right now, you are using your analytical mind to break the world up into individual thought subjects. You are then using the same mind to put these discrete thoughts together in a defined relationship to each other. You do this in an attempt to feel the semblance of control. This is seen most clearly in your constant attempt to make the unknown known. You say to yourself, it wouldn't dare rain tomorrow. It's my day off, and since Jennifer loves being outdoors, she will certainly want to go hiking with me. In fact, if I want an extra day off, then won't mind covering for me. After all, I covered for him once. You have it all figured out. You know how everything is supposed to be, even the future. Your views, your opinion, your preferences, your concept, your goal, and your beliefs are always bringing the infinite universe down to the finite where you can feel a sense of control. Since the analytical man cannot handle the infinite, you created an alternate reality of finite thoughts that can remain fixed within your mind. You have taken the whole, broken into the pieces, and selected a handful of these pieces to be put together in a certain way within your mind. This mental model has become your reality. You must now struggle day and night to make the world fit your model, and you label everything that does not fit as wrong and bad or unfair. If anything happens that challenges how you view things, you fight, you defend, you rationalize, you get frustrated and angry over a simple little thing. This is the result of being unable to fit what's actually happening into your model of reality. If you want to go beyond your model, you have to take the risk of not believing in it. If your mental model is bothering you, it is because it does not incorporate reality. Your choice is to either resist reality or go beyond the limits of your model. In order to truly go beyond your model, you must first understand why you built it. The easiest way to understand this is to study what happens when the model does not work. Have you ever built your whole world on a model of life predicated upon another person's behavior or the permanence of a relationship? If so, have you ever had the foundation pulled out from you under you? Somebody leaves you, somebody dies, something goes wrong, something shakes your model to the core. When this happens, your entire view of who you believe you are, including your relationship to everyone and everything around you, begins to fall apart. You panic, you do everything you can to hold it together, you beg, fight, struggle to try to keep your world from collapsing. Once you have had an experience like that, and most people have, you realize that the model you have built is tenuous at best. The entire thing can fall apart. The whole model and all that is built upon, including your entire view of yourself and everything else, can start to crumble. What you experience when this happens is one of the most important learning experiences of your life. You come face to face with what you made build the model. The level of discomfort and disorientation you experience is frightening. You struggle to get back some semblance of normal perception. What you are really doing is trying to pull the mental model back around you so that you can settle down into your familiar mental setting. But our whole world does not have to fall apart in order for us to see what we are doing in there. We are constantly trying to hold it all together. If you really want to see why you do things, then don't do them and see what happens. Let's say you are a smoker. If you decide to stop smoking, you quickly confront the urge that caused you to smoke. These urges are the reason you smoke. They are the outermost layer of cause. If you can see through this urge, you will see what caused them. If you can get comfortable with what you see, you will face the next layer of causations and so on. Layer upon layer, and likewise there is a reason you overeat, there is a reason why you dress the way you do, there is a reason for everything you do. If you want to see why you care so much about your wear and what your hair is like, then just don't do it one day. Wake up in the morning and go somewhere yourself with your hair a mess and see what happened to the energies inside of you, and see what happened to you when you don't do the things that make you comfortable. What will you will see is why you are doing them. You are constantly trying to stay within your comfort zone. You struggle to keep people, places, and things in a manner that support your model. If they start to go any other way, you get uncomfortable. Your mind then becomes active, telling you how to get things back the way you need them to be. The moment somebody starts behaving in a way that is outside your expectation, your mind stops talking. It says, "What should I do about this? I cannot just ignore what he did or she did or they did. I could confront him directly and ask someone else to talk to him." Your mind is telling you to fix it, and it does not really matter what you end up doing. It's all about getting back within your comfort zone. This zone is finite. All attempts to stay within it to keep you infinite. Going beyond always means letting go of the effort to keep things within your defined limits. So there are two ways you can live. You can devote your life to staying in your comfort zone, or you can work on your freedom. In other words, you can devote your whole life to the process of making sure everything fits within your limited model, or you can devote your life to freeing yourself from the limits of your model. To understand this better, let's take a trip to the zoo. Imagine that you are having a great time until you see a tiger inside a small cage. This causes you to contemplate what it would be like to live the rest of your life in such a tight confinement. The very thought is extremely frightening to you, but in truth, the confines of your comfort zone created such as a cage. This inner cage does not limit your body, it limits the expanse of your consciousness. Because you are unable to go outside your comfort zone, you are, in essence, locked in confinement. If you examine this, you will see that you are willing to stay in this cage because you are afraid. Your comfort zone is familiar to you beyond it is the unknown. To fully appreciate this, just imagine the most paranoid person you have ever met in your entire life. He is so scared. Every moment of his life, he thinks somebody's trying to hurt him, and if you offer him that tiger's cage, he might accept you over. He doesn't see it as being locked in a cage, he sees it as protection from what could harm him. That which looks like a prison to you looks like a safety to him. What if a security service came to your house and bolted down all the doors and barred all the windows? If you happen to be inside at the time, would you panic and want to get out? Or would you thank them for helping you feel safe? Most people have the second reaction when it comes to the limitation of their physique. They want to stay in there and feel safe. They don't say, "Get me out of here. I'm locked in this tiny world in which everything has to be a certain way. I have to worry about what everybody is doing, what I look like, and everything I have ever said. I want out." Instead of wanting out, they try to keep their cage stable. If something is not comfortable, they do whatever they must to protect themselves and get back to a feeling of safety. If you have ever done that, it means you love your cage. When the cage of the physique got rattled, you fix it so that you could be comfortable inside. When you truly awake spiritually, you realize you are a cage. You wake up and realize that you can hardly move in there. You are constantly hitting the limit of your comfort zone. You see that you are afraid to tell people what you really think. You see that you are too self-conscious to freely express yourself. You see that you have to stay on top of everything in order to be okay. Why? There is really no reason. You have set these limits on yourself. If you don't stay within them, you get scared, you feel hurt, you feel threatened. That's your cage. The tiger knows the limit of this cage when he hits the bars. You know the limit of your cage when the physics start to resist. Your bars are the outer boundary of your comfort zone. The minute you come to the edge of your cage, it lets you know it in no uncertain term. Let's look at this edge by way of an example. In the old days, if you wanted to keep your dog in the backyard, you had to put up a fence. Nowadays, you don't need a fence because everything is electronic. You just bury wire underground and put a little collar on the dog. The dog thinks, "Hey, I'm free. I used to have to be inside a fence. This is great." Of course, he goes running right what to where he is not supposed to go, and zap, he jumps back and barks. What happened? An invisible limit was there, and when the dog approached that limit, it gave him a little shock. It hurt. It was uncomfortable enough so that now the dog feels fear whenever he approaches the boundaries. So you see, a cage does not have to look like a cage. It can be a cage created by your fear of discomfort. If you approach your limit, you begin to feel uncomfortable and insecure. Those are the bars of your cage. As long as you stay inside of it, you cannot possibly know what is on the other side. The boundaries of this cage are what make your world appear finite and temporal. The infinite and eternal are just outside the limit of your cage. Going beyond means going beyond the border of the cage. There should be no cage. The soul is infinite. It is free to expand everywhere. It is free to experience all of life. This can only happen when you are willing to face reality without mental boundaries. If you still have barrier and you know what they are because you hit them every day, you must be willing to go beyond them. Otherwise, you remain within your cage and remember decorating your cage with beautiful experiences, fun memories, and a great dream is not the same as going beyond. A cage, by any other name, is still a cage. You must be willing to go beyond. Throughout each day, you frequently hit the edge of your cage. When you hit these edges, you either pull back or try to force things to change so that you can remain comfortable. You actually use the brilliance of your mind to stay inside your cage day and night. You plot and plan how to stay within your comfort zone. Sometimes you cannot even fall asleep at night because you are too busy thinking about what you need to do to stay within your cage. How can I make it so that she will never leave me? How can I keep her from ever becoming interested in someone else? You are trying to figure out how to be sure that you won't hit the edges of your cage. Let's go back to the dog. Since the particular dog was used to roaming free, it said they when he stopped trying to get out of the yard. The only reason he will stop trying to go beyond his little space is that he is afraid of the edges. But what if we are dealing with a very brave dog that's determined to be free? Imagine that the dog has not given up. You find him sitting there right at the place where the collar starts vibrating and he's not backing off. Every minute he is stepping forward a little bit more in order to get used to the force field. If he continues, he will eventually get out. There is no change in the world that he wants. Since it is an artificial edge, he can get through if he can learn to withstand the discomfort. He just has to be ready, willing, and able to handle the discomfort. The collar cannot actually hurt him, it is uncomfortable. If he is willing to go beyond his comfort zone, he is free to come and go at will. Your cage is just like this. When you approach the edges, you feel insecurity, jealousy, fear, or self-consciousness. You pull back, and if you are like most people, you are stop trying. Spirituality begins when you decide that you will never stop trying. Spirituality is the commitment to go beyond, no matter what it takes. It's an infinite journey based upon going beyond yourself every minute of every day for the rest of your life. If you are truly going beyond, you are always at your limit. You are never back in the comfort zone. A spiritual being feels as though they are always against the edge and they are constantly being pushed through it. Eventually, you will realize that it cannot actually hurt you to go beyond your physiological limit if you are willing to just stand at the edge and keep it walking and you will go beyond. You used to pull back when it got uncomfortable. Now you relax and go past that point. That is all it takes to go beyond. Go beyond where you were a minute ago by handling what's happening now. What would you like to go beyond? Would you like to feel no edges? Imagine a comfort zone that is so expanded that it can easily fit the entire day, no matter what happens. The day unfolds and the mind does not say anything. You simply interact with the day with a peaceful, fully inspired heart. If your edges happen to get hit, the mind does not complain. It all just passes through. This is how a great being in life. When you are trained like a great athlete to immediately relax through your edges when they get hit, then it's all over. You realize that you will always be fine. Nothing can ever bother you except your edges, and now you know what to do with them, and you end up loving your edges because they point your way to freedom. All you have to do is constantly relax and lean into them. Then one day, when you least expect it, you fall through into the infinite. That is what it means to go beyond. 14. Letting go of false solidity. The inside of one's physique is a very complex, sophisticated place. It is full of conflicting forces that are constantly changing due to both internal and external stimuli. This results in wide variation of needs, fear, and desire over a relatively short period of time. Because of this, very few people have the clarity to understand what's going on in there. There's just too much happening at once to follow the cause and effect relationship between all of our different thoughts, emotions, and energy level. And as a result, we find ourselves struggling to hold it all together, but everything keeps on changing. Moods, desires, likes, dislike, enthusiasm, lethargy, it's all full-time task just to maintain the discipline necessary to create even the semblance of control and order in there. When you are lost and struggling with all these physiological and energetic changes, you are suffering. While it may not seem to you that you are suffering compared to what it can be, you are suffering into the very responsibility of having to hold it all together is itself a form of suffering. You notice this most when things start to fall apart outside, your physique goes into turmoil, and you have no struggle to hold your inner world together. But what exactly you are trying to hold onto? The only things in there are your thoughts, emotions, and movement of energy, none of which are solid. They are like clouds, simply coming and going through vast inner space, but you can keep holding onto them as though consistency can substitute for stability. The Buddhists have a term for this, clinging. In the end, clinging is what the physics is all about. In order to understand clinging, we must first understand who clings. As you go deeper into yourself, you will naturally come to realize that there is an aspect of your being that is always there and never changes. This is your sense of awareness, your consciousness. It is this awareness that is aware of your thoughts, experiences, the ebb and flow of your emotion, and receive your thoughts, experience, physical stance. This is the root of self. You are not your thoughts. You are aware of your thoughts. You are not your emotions. You feel your emotions. You are not your body. You look at in the mirror and experience this world through its eyes and ears. You are the consciousness being who is aware that you are aware of all these inner and outer things. If you explore consciousness, which is your pure sense of awareness, you will see that it really does not exist at any particular point in space. Rather, it is a field of awareness that focuses down to a point by concentrating on a particular set of objects. You can be aware of feeling just one finger, or you can be aware of feeling your entire body at once. You can be totally lost in a single thought, or you can be simultaneously aware of your thoughts, your emotion, your body, and your surrounding. Consciousness is a dynamic field of awareness that has the ability to either narrowly focus or broadly expand. When consciousness concentrates narrowly enough, it loses its broader sense of self. It no longer experiences itself as a field of pure consciousness. It begins to relate itself more to the object it's focused upon. As we have seen, this is what happens when you get so absorbed in a movie that you completely lose the broader sense of sitting in a cold, dark theater. In this case, you have shifted from concentrating on your body and its surrounding to concentrating on the world of the movie. You will literally get lost in the experience. This can be generalized to your entire experience of life. Your sense of self is determined by where you are focusing your consciousness. But what determines where you focus your consciousness? At the most basic level, it is simply determined by anything that catches your awareness because it stands out from the rest. To understand this, imagine that your consciousness is simply observing vast, empty inner space. Now imagine that passing through this space is the gentle flow of random thought object, a cat, a horse, a word, a color, or an abstract thoughts. They are sporadically floating right through your awareness. Now let one object stand out above the rest. It catches your attention and draws you the focus of your awareness. You immediately realize that the more focused you become on the object, the slower it moves. Until eventually, if you focus on it enough, it stops. The force of consciousness and upholding the object stable simply by concentrating on it, just as a fish can pass through water but not through ice, which is simply concentrated water. So mental and emotional energy patterns become fixed when they encounter concentrated consciousness. The very act of differentiating an amount of awareness focused on one particular object over any other creates clinging, and the result of clinging is that selective thoughts and emotions stay in one place long enough to become the building block of the physique. Clinging is one of the most primal acts because some objects remain in the consciousness while others pass through. Your sense of awareness relates more to them. Use them as fixed point to create a sense of orientation, relationship, and security in the midst of constant inner change. And this need for orientation extend to the outside world. Although you are clinging to the inner object, use them to orient and relate yourself to the multitude of physical and objects that come in through your sense. Then you create thoughts that tie all the objects together and you cling to the entire structure. You actually end up relating so strongly to this inner structure that you build your entire sense of self around it. Because you cling to it, it stays fixed, and because it stays fixed, you relate to it above all else. This is the birth of the physics. In the midst of the expanse of the empty mind, by clinging to passing through object, you make an island of apparent solidity. Once you have a thought that stays, you can rest your head on it. Then as you cling to more and more thoughts, you build an inner structure for consciousness to focus on. The more consciousness narrows its focus on this mental structure, the greater the tendency to utilize it to define the concept of self. Clinging creates the brick and mortar with which we build a conceptual self in the midst of a vast inner space, using nothing but the fiber of thoughts. You created a structure of apparent solidity to rest upon. Who are you? That is lost and trying to build a concept of yourself in order to be found. This question represents the essence of spirituality. You will never find yourself in what you have built to define yourself. You are the one who is doing the building. You may assemble the most amazing collection of thought and emotion. You may build a truly beautiful, unbelievable, interesting, and dynamic structure, but obviously, it's not you. You are the one who did this. You are the one who was lost, scared, and confused because you focus your awareness away from your awareness of self. In this panic, in this lost state, you learn to cling and hold onto the thoughts and emotions that were passing. Learn to cling and hold onto the thoughts and emotions that were passing before you. Use them to build a personality, a persona, a self-concept that would allow you to define yourself. Awareness rested itself on the object it was aware of and called it home. Because you have this model of who you are, it is easier to know how to act, how to make decisions, how to relate to the outside world. If you dare to look, you will see that your entire life based on the model you built around yourself. Let's get more specific. You try to hold a consistent set of thoughts and a concept in your mind, such as I am a woman. Yes, even that is a thought or a concept held in your mind. You who are holding onto that are neither male or female. You are the awareness who hears that thoughts and see a woman's body in the mirror, but you cling tightly to this concept. You think, I am a woman and I am a certain age and I believe in one philosophy versus another. You literally define yourself based on what you believe. I believe in a God, or I don't believe in God. I believe in peace and non-violence, or I believe in survival of the fittest. I believe in capitalism, or I believe in neo-socialism. You take a set of thoughts in the mind and you hold onto them. You make a highly complex relational structure out of them and then present the package of as who you are, but it's not who you are. It is just the thought you have built around yourself in an attempt to define yourself. You do this because you are lost. Basically, you attempt to create a sense of stability and steadiness inside. This generates a false but welcome sense of security. You also want the people around you to have done the same thing. You want people to be steady enough so that you can predict their behavior. If they are not, it disturbs you. This is because you have made your predictions of their behavior part of your inner model. This protective shield of belief and concept regarding the outside world acts as insulation between you and the people you interact with. By having preconceived notion about other people's behavior, you feel safer and more in control. Imagine the fear you will feel if you let the entire world down. Who have you ever allowed directly into your true inner self without the protection of your mental buffer? Nobody, not even yourself. People just put fake seeds out there They even admit that one visit is a little more real than the other. You go to work and get lost in your professional visit, but then you say, I'm going home to be with my family and friends where I can just be myself. So your work visit drops into the background and you realize social visit comes forward. But what about you? The one who is holding the visit together. Nobody gets near that one. That's just too scary. That one is too far back there to deal with, and so we are all clinging and then building. Some of us are better at this than others. In most societies, you are well rewarded for how good you are at clinging and building. If you get the model down absolutely right and behave consistently every time, you have actually created someone. And if the someone you create is what others want and need, you can be very popular and successful. You are that person. It got ingrained in you at a very young age and you never deviated from it. You can get really good at this game of creating someone, and if the person you created is not receiving the popularity and success you expected, you can adjust your thoughts accordingly. It's not just that there is not anything wrong with this. Obviously, everybody does it. But who are you that's doing this, and why are you doing it? It's important to realize that it's not just up to you what thoughts you cling to and what person you create. Society has a lot to say about this. There are acceptable and unacceptable social behavior for almost everything: how to sit, how to walk, how to speak, how to dress, and how to feel about things. How does our society ingrain these mental and emotional structures within us? When you do it well, you are rewarded with hugs, showered with positive accolades, and when you don't do it well, you are punished either physically, mentally, or emotionally. Just think about how nice you are to people when they behave in accordance with your expectation. And now, think about how you close up and pull back from them when they don't. This is not to mention getting angry or even violent toward them. What are you doing? You are trying to change someone's behavior by leaving impression on their mind. You are attempting to alter their collection of beliefs, thoughts, emotions so that the next time they act, it is in the manner you expect. In truth, we are all doing this to each other every day. Why do we let this happen to us? Why do we care so much whether other people accept the visit we put out there? It all comes down to understanding why we are clinging to our self-concept. If you stop clinging, you will see why the tendency to cling was there. If you let go of your facade, you and don't try to trade it in for a new one, your thoughts and emotions will become an anchor and begin passing through you. It will be a very scary experience. You will feel panic deep inside and you will be unable to get your bearing. This is what people feel when something very important outside does not fit their inner model. The face that ceases to work and begin to crumble. When it can no longer protect you, you will experience great fear and panic. However, you will find that if you are willing to face that sense of panic, there is a way to go past it. You can go further back into the consciousness that is experiencing it and the panic will stop. Then there will be a great peace, like nothing you have ever felt. That's the part of very few people come to know. It can stop the noise, the fear, the confusion, the constant changing of these inner energies. It can all stop. You thought you had to protect yourself, so you grappled onto the things that were coming at you and used them to hide. You took what you could get your hands on and you started to cling in order to build solidity, but you can let go of what you are clinging to and not play this game. You just have to take the risk of letting it all go and daring to face the fear that was driving you. Then you can pass through that part of you and it will be over. It will stop. No more struggling, just peace. This journey is one of the passing through exactly where you have been struggling not to go. As you pass through the state of turmoil, the consciousness itself is your only repose. You will just be aware that time-induced changes are taking place. You will be aware that there is no solidity and you will become comfortable with that. You will be aware that each moment of each day is unfolding and you neither have control nor crave it. You have no concept, no hopes, no dreams, no belief, and no security. You are no longer building mental model of what's going on, but life is going on anyway. You are perfectly comfortable just being aware of it. Here comes this moment, then the next moment, and then the next. But that's really what has always happened. Moment after moment has been passing before your consciousness. The difference is that now you see it happening, you see that your emotion and your mind are reacting to this moment that are coming through, and you are doing nothing to stop it, you are doing nothing to control it, you are just letting life unfold both outside and inside of you. If you take this journey, you will get to the state in which you see exactly how the unfolding moment bring up a sense of fear. From this place of clarity, you will be able to experience the powerful tendency to protect yourself. This tendency exists because you truly have no control, and that is not comfortable to you. But if you really want to break through, you have to be willing to just watch the fear without protecting yourself from it. You must be willing to see that this need to protect yourself is where the entire personality comes from. It was created by building a mental and emotional structure to get away from the sense of fear. You are now standing face to face with the root of this physique. And if you go deep enough, you can watch the physics being built. You will see that you are in the middle of nowhere, in empty, infinite space, and all of these inner objects are flowing towards you. Thoughts, feeling, and the impression of worldly experiences are all pouring into your consciousness. You will clearly see that the tendency is to protect yourself from this flow by bringing it under your control. There is an overwhelmingly strong tendency to lean forward and grab onto selective impression of people, places, and things as they flow through. You will see that if you focus on these mental images, they become part of the complex structure where they was not. You will see events that took place when you were 10 years old that you are still holding onto. You will see that you are literally taking all your memories, pulling them together in an all orderly fashion and saying that's who you are, but you're not the event, you are the one who experienced the event. How can you define yourself? As the things that happen to you, you were aware of your existence before they happen. You are the one who is in there doing all this, seeing all this, and experiencing all this. You do not have to cling to your experiences in the name of building yourself. This is a false self you are building inside. It is just a concept of yourself that you hide behind. How long have you been hiding in the struggle, in there, struggling to keep it all together? Anytime anything goes wrong in the protective model you built about yourself, you defend and rationalize. In order to get it back together, your mind does not stop struggling until you have processed the event or someone somehow made it go away. People feel their favorite system is at stake, and they will fight and argue until they get control back. This is all because we have attempted to build solidity where there is none. And now we have to fight to keep it together. The problem is there is no way out that way. There is no peace and there is no winning in that struggle. You were told not to build your house upon sand. Well, this is the ultimate sand. In fact, you build your house in empty space. If you continue to cling to what you build, you will have to continually and perpetually defend yourself. You will have to keep everybody and everything straight in order to reconcile your conceptual model with reality. It's a constant struggle to keep it together. What it means to live spiritually is not to participate in this struggle. It means that the events that happen in the moment belong to the moment. They don't belong to you. They have nothing to do with you. You must stop defining yourself in relationship to them and just let them come and go. Do not allow events to leave impression inside of you. If you find yourself thinking about them later on, just let go. If an event happens that does not fit your conceptual model and you see yourself struggling and rationalizing to make it fit, just notice what you are doing. An event in the universe didn't match your model and it's causing disturbance inside of you. If you will simply notice this, you will find that it is actually breaking up your model. You will get the point where you will like this because you don't want to keep your model. You will define this as good because you are no longer willing to put any energy into building and solidifying your physique. Instead, you will actually permit the things that disturb your model to act as the dynamite to break it up. And for you, this is what it means to live spiritually. When you become truly spiritual, you are totally different from everybody else. That which everybody else wants, you don't want. And that which everybody else resists, you totally accept. You want your model to break and you honor the experience when something happens that can cause disturbance within you. Why should anything that anyone says or does cause you to get disturbed? You are just on a planet spinning around the middle of absolutely nowhere. You come here to visit for a handful of years and then you are going to leave. How can you leave all stressed out over everything? Don't do it. If anything can cause disturbance inside of you, it means it hit your model. It means it hit the false part of you that you built in order to control your own definition of reality. But if the model is reality, why didn't experiential reality fit? There is nothing you can make up inside your mind that can ever be considered reality. You must learn to be comfortable with the physiological disturbance. If your mind becomes hyperactive, just watch it. If your heart starts to heat up, let it go through what it must. Try to find a part of you that is capable of noticing that your mind is hyperactive and that your heart is heating up. That part is your way out. There is no way out through building this model of yours. The only way to inner freedom is through the one who watches the self. The self simply notice that the mind and emotion are unrevealing and that nothing is struggling to hold them together. Of course, this will be painful. The reason you built the whole mental structure was to avoid pain. If you let it fall apart, you are going to feel the pain that you were avoiding when you built it. You must be willing to face this pain. If you were to lock yourself in a fortress because you were afraid of to come up, you would have to face that fear if you ever wanted to experience a fuller existence. That fortress will not be protecting you, it will be imprisoning you. To be free, you truly experience life, you must come out, you have let go and pass through the cleansing process that frees you from the physique. You do this by simply watching the physique be the physique. And the way out is through awareness. Stop defining the disturbed mind as a negative experience. Just see if you can relax behind it. When your mind is disturbed, don't ask, what do I do about this? Instead, ask, who am I that notice this? In time, you will come to realize that the center from which you watch disturbance cannot get disturbed. If it appears disturbed, just notice who is noticing the disturbance. Eventually, it will stop. You will then be able to respect into the depth of your being while watching your mind and heart create their last truths of turmoil. When you reach that point, you will understand what it means to be transcendent. Awareness transcends what it is aware of. It is as separate as light is form. What it shines upon you are consciousness, and you can free yourself from all of this by relaxing behind it. If you want permanent peace, permanent joy, permanent happiness, you have to get through to the other side of the inner turmoil. You can experience a life in which waves of love can rush up inside of you anytime you want. It is the nature of your being. You simply have to go to the other side of the physique. You do that by letting go of the tendency to cling. You do it by not using your mind to build false solidity. You just decide once and for all to take the journey by constantly letting go. At this point, the journey becomes very quick. You will go through the part of you that has always been scared to death, and you will see how the part has always struggled to hold it all together. If you don't feed that part, if you just keep letting go and don't let it cling, eventually you will fall behind the false solidity. This is not something you do, it's something that happens to you. Your only way out is to witness. Just keep letting go by being aware that you are aware. If you pass through a period of darkness, of depression, just ask, who is aware of the darkness. That's how you pass through the different stages of your inner growth. You just keep letting go and remain aware that you are still there. And when you have let go of the dark physique and you have let go of the light physique, and you are no longer clinging to anything, you will reach a point where it will all open up behind you. You are used to being aware of things in front of you, and become aware of a universe behind your seat of consciousness. It didn't look like there was anything behind you because you were so focused on building your model out of the thoughts and emotions passing before you. There was no awareness of the vast expanse of space inside, back behind. There is a whole universe. You are just not looking that way. If you are willing to let go, you will fall back and it will open into an ocean of energy. You will become filled with light. You become filled with a light that has no darkness. With a piece of that past all understanding, you will then walk through every moment of your daily life with the flow of this inner force sustaining you, feeding you, and guiding you from deep within. You will still have thoughts, emotion, and a self-concept floating around in the inner space, but they will be just one small part of what you experience. You will not identify with anything outside the sense of self. Once you reach this state, you will never have to worry about anything ever again. The force of creation will create creation both inside and outside of you. You will float in peace, love, compassion beyond it all, and yet honoring it all. There is no need for false solidity when you are at peace with the universal expanse of your true being. Part 5. Living Life. 15. The Path of Unconditional Happiness. The highest spiritual path is life itself. If you know how to live daily life, it all becomes a liberating experience. But first you have to approach life properly, or it can be very confusing. To begin with, you have to realize that you really only have one choice in this life, and it's not about your career, whom you want to marry, or whether you want to seek God. People tend to burden themselves with so many choices, but in the end, you can throw it all away and just make one basic underlying decision. Do you want to be happy, or do you not want to be happy? It's a really simple question. Once you make that choice, your path through life becomes totally clear. Most people do not dare give themselves the choice because they think it's not under their control. Someone might say, well, of course I want to be happy, but my wife left me. In other words, they want to be happy, but not if their wife leaves them. But that was not the question. The question was very simple. Do you want to be happy or not? If you keep it that simple, you will see that it really is under control. It's just that you have the deep-seated set of preferences that gets in the way. Let's say you have been lost and without food for days, and you finally find your way to a house. You can hardly make it to the doorstep, but you manage to pull yourself up and knock on the door. Somebody opens the door, look at you and says, oh my God, you poor thing, do you want something to eat? What would you like? Now the truth is, you really do not care what they give you. You don't even want to think about it. You just utter the word food, and because you really mean it. When you say you need food, it no longer has anything to do with your mental preferences. The same goes for the question about happiness. The question is simply, do you want to be happy? If the answer is really yes, then say it without qualifying it. After all, what the question really means is, do you want to be happy from this point forward for the rest of your life, regardless of what happens? And now, if you say yes, it might happen that your wife leaves you, or your husband dies, or the stock market crashes, or your car breaks down on an open highway at night. Those things might happen between now and the end of your life. But if you want to walk the highest spiritual path, then when you answer yes to this simple question, you must really mean it. There are no if, ands, or buts about it. It's not a question of whether your happiness is under your control. Of course, it's under your control. It's just that you don't really mean it when you say you are willing to stay happy. You want to qualify it. You want to say that as long as this does not happen, or as long as that does happen, then you are willing to be happy. That's why it seems like it is out of your control. Any condition you create will limit your happiness. You simply are not going to be able to control things and keep them the way you want them to. You have to give an unconditional answer. If you decide that you are going to be happy from now on for the rest of your life, you will not only be happy, you will become enlightened. Unconditional happiness is the highest technique there is. You don't have to learn Sanskrit or read any scriptures. You don't have to renounce the world. You just have to really mean it when you say that you choose to be happy. And you have to mean it regardless of what happens. This is really a spiritual path, and it is a direct and sure path awakening as could possibly exist. Once you decide you want to be unconditionally happy, something inevitably will happen that challenges you. This test of your commitment is exactly what stimulates spiritual growth. In fact, it is the unconditional aspect of your commitment that makes this the highest path. It is so simple. You just have to decide whether or not you will break your vow. When everything is going well, it is easy to be happy, but the moment something difficult happens, it's not so easy. You tend to find yourself saying, but I didn't know that this was going to happen. I didn't think I would miss my flight. I didn't necessarily would show up at the party wearing the same dress that I had on. I didn't think that somebody would dent my brand new car 1 hour after I got it. Are you really willing to break your vow of happiness because this event took place? Billion of things could happen that you haven't even thought of yet. The question is not whether they will happen. Things are going to happen. The real question is whether you want to be happy regardless of what happened. The purpose of your life is to enjoy and learn from your experiences. You were not put on earth to suffer. You are not helping anybody by being miserable. Regardless of your philosophical belief, the fact remains that you were born and you are going to die. During the time in between, you get to choose whether or not you want to enjoy the experience. Events do not determine whether or not you are going to be happy. They are just events. You determine whether or not you are going to be happy. You can be happy just to be alive. You can be happy having all these things happen to you and then be happy to die. If you can live this way, your heart will be so open and your spirit will be so free that you will soar up to the heaven. This path leads you to absolute transcendence because any part of your being that will add a condition to your commitment to happiness has to go. Yeah, if you want to be happy, you have to let go of the part of you that wants to create melodrama. This is the part that thinks there is a reason not to be happy. You have to transcend the personal, and as you do, you will naturally awaken to the higher aspect of your being. In the end, enjoying life's experience is the only rational thing to do. You are sitting on a planet spinning around the middle of absolutely nowhere. Go ahead, take a look at the reality. You are floating in empty space in a universe that goes on forever. If you have to be here, at least be happy and enjoy the experience. You are going to die anyway. Things are going to happen anyway. Why shouldn't you be happy? You gain nothing by being bothered by life's event. It doesn't change the world, you just suffer. There is always going to be something that can bother you if you let it. Yeah, this choice to enjoy life will lead you through your spiritual journey. In truth, it's itself a spiritual teacher. Committing yourself to unconditional happiness will teach you every single thing there is to learn about yourself, about the other, about the nature of life. You will learn all about your mind, about your heart and your will. But you have to mean it. When you say that you will be happy for the rest of your life, every time a part of you begin to get unhappy, let it go. Work with it. I know it just say is easy to say, but use this formation and do whatever you need to do to stay open. If you are committed, nothing can stop you. No matter what happens, you can choose to enjoy the experience. If they starve you and put you in solitary confinement, you just have fun being like Gandhi. No matter what happens, just enjoy the life that comes to you. As difficult as that sounds, what's the benefit of not doing it? If you are totally innocent and they lock you up, you might as well have fun. What good does it to not have fun? It does not change anything at the end. If you stay happy, you win. Make that your game and just stay happy no matter what. The key to staying happy is really very simple. Begin by understanding your inner energies. If you look inside, you will see that when you are happy, your heart feels open and the energy rises up inside of you. When you are not happy, your heart feels closed and no energy comes up inside. So to stay happy, just do not close your heart no matter what happens. If your wife leaves you or your husband dies or just don't close. There is no rule that says you have to close. Just tell yourself that no matter what happens, you are not going to close. You really do have that choice. When you start to close, just questions. If you are really willing to give up your happiness, you should examine what it is inside of you that believe there is some benefit to closing. The slightest thing happens to you and you give away your happiness. You were having a great day until someone cut you off on your way to work. It got you really upset and you will stay that way the rest of the day. Why? Dare to ask yourself that question. What good came from letting it ruin your day? There is no benefit if somebody cuts you off. Let go and stay up. And if you really want to, you can. If you take on this path of unconditional happiness, if you will go through all of the various stages of yoga, you will have to stay continuous, centered, and committed at all time. You will have to stay one pointed on your commitment to remain open and receptive to life. But nobody said that you cannot do this. Staying open is what great saints and masters taught. They taught that God is joy, God is ecstasy, and God is love. If you remain open enough, waves of uplifting energy will fill your heart. Spiritual practices are not an end in themselves. They bear fruit when you become deep enough to remain open. If you learn to stay open at all times, great things will happen to you. You simply have to learn not to close. The key is to learn to keep your mind disciplined enough so that it does not trick you into thinking that this time it's worth closing. If you sleep, get back up, and the minute you sleep, the minute you open your mouth, the minute you start to close and defend yourself, get back up. Just pick yourself up and affirm inwardly that you don't want to close no matter what happens. Affirm that all you want is to be at peace and to appreciate life. You don't want your happiness to be conditional upon behavior of other people. It's bad enough that your happiness is conditional upon your own behavior. When you start making it conditional upon other people's behavior, you are in a serious trouble. Things are going to happen to you and you are going to feel the tendency to close, but you have the choice to either go with it or let it go. Your mind will tell you that it's not reasonable to stay open when these things happen, but you have limited time left in your life, and what's really not reasonable is to not enjoy life. If you have trouble remembering that, then meditate. Meditation strengthens your center of consciousness so that you are always aware enough to not allow your heart to close. You remain open, but simply letting go and releasing the tendency to close. You just relax your heart. When it starts to tighten, you don't have to be outwardly glowing all the time. You are just joyful inside. Instead of complaining, you are just having fun with the different situation that unfold. And unconditional happiness is a very high path and a very high technique because it solves everything. You could learn yoga techniques. Yeah. But what do you do with the rest of your life? The technique of unconditional happiness is ideal because what you're doing with the rest of your life is already defined. You are letting go of yourself so that you can remain happy. As far as your spirituality goes, you are going to grow very rapidly. A person who actually does this every moment of every day is going to notice the cleansing of their heart. This is because they are not getting involved in the stuff that comes up. They are also going to notice the purification of their mind because they are not getting involved in the mind's melodrama. Their spirit is going to awaken. Even if they know nothing about Shakti or spirit, they will come to know a happiness that is beyond human understanding, despite self-daily life and its self-spiritual life. The greatest gift one can give to God is to be pleased with his creation. Do you think God likes to be around people that are happy or people that are miserable? It's not hard to tell. Just think about it by imagining that you are God. You created the heavens and earth so that you can play and experience yourself, and now you are dropping down to check on your humans. So God asks the first human, he says, "How are you doing?" The human says, "What do you mean? How I'm doing?" Well, do you like it here? No, I don't like it here. Why not? What's wrong? That tree is banned in 5 places. I want it to be straight. This person went out with somebody else, and that person ran up $100 phone bill. This person has a nicer car than mine, and that person dresses funny. It's a terrible. Plus, my nose is too big, and my ears too small, and my toes are weird. I'm not happy with it. I don't like it, any of it. So God says, well, how about the animals? The animals and the animals could bite you. It's a terrible thing. I cannot go at night because there are all these animals out there. They hole and poop all over the place, and I just don't like it. Do you think God likes listening to this? He says, what do you think? I'm a complaint department. Then he goes and visits somebody else, and again he asks, how are you doing? This person says, I'm ecstatic. Yeah, God says, well, how do you like things? They are beautiful. Everything I look at just creates a wave of joy inside of me. I look at that band tree, it just blows me away. The ant comes and bites me, and it's just so amazing that that tiny ant could be brave enough to bite a giant like me. Now, you guess who God wants to hang out with? One of the ancient names for God in the yogic tradition is Satitananda, eternal, conscious bliss. God is ecstasy. God is as high as it gets. If you want to be close to God, learn to be joyful. If you were even spontaneously happy and centered, no matter what happened, you will find God. That's the amazing part. Yes, you will find happiness, but that's nothing compared to what you are really going to find. Once you have passed through trial by fire and you are truly convinced that you will let go no matter what, then the veils of human mind and heart will fall away. You will stand face to face with what is beyond you because there's no longer a need for you. When you are done playing with the temporal and finite, you will open to the eternal and infinite. Then the word happiness cannot describe your state. That's where words like ecstasy, bliss, liberation, nirvana, and freedom come in. The joy becomes overwhelming, and your cup runneth over. This is a beautiful path, and be happy. 16. The spiritual path of non-resistance. One should view the spiritual work as learning to live life without stress, problem, fear, or melodrama. This path of using life to involve spiritually is truly the highest path. There really is no reason for tension of problem. Stress only happen when. What an amazing process life is. This flow of atoms through time and space is just an eternal sequence of events that take from and then instantly dissolve into the next moment. If you resist this amazing force of life, tension builds within you and gets into your body, mind, and spiritual heart. It is not difficult to see the tendency towards stress and resistance in the daily life, but if we want to understand this tendency, we must first examine why we are so resistant to just letting life be life. What is it inside of us that even has the ability to resist the reality of life? If you look carefully inside yourself, you will see that it's you, the self, the indwelling being that has this power. It is called willpower. Will is a real force that emanates from your being. It is what makes your arms and legs move. They don't just move randomly by themselves. They move the way they do because you assert will to make them do so, and you use the same will to hold under those when you want to concentrate on them. The power of self. When it is concentrated and directed into this physical, mental, or emotional realm, creates a force, and we call the force will. That's what you use when you try to make things happen or not happen. You're not helpless in there. You have the power to affect things. It's amazing to see what we end up doing with our will. We actually exert our will in opposition to the flow of life. If something happened that we don't like, we resist it. But since what we are resisting has already taken place, what good is it to resist? If your best friend moves away, it is understandable that you don't like it, but your inner resistance to that even for years. The calm does not change the fact that they did indeed move away. It does not do anything to the reality of the situation. The fact is, it cannot even be argued that we are resisting the actual situation. For instance, if somebody says something that we don't like, obviously, our resistance won't stop them from having said it. What we are really resisting is the experience of the event passing through us. We don't want it affecting us inside. We know it is going to make mental and emotional impression that will not fit with what's already in there. So we assert the force of will against the influence of the event in an attempt to stop it from passing through our hearts and minds. In other words, the experience of an event does not stop with our sensory observation of it. The event also has to pass through the physic at an energetic level. This is the process we experience every day. The initial sensory observation touches our mental and emotional energy pools, creating movement in the energy, and this movement passes through the physic, much like physical impact ripples through water. And amazingly, you actually have the ability to resist this movement of energy. The assertion of willpower can stop the energy transfer, and that's what creates tension. You can wear yourself out struggling with the experience of a single event or even a single thought or emotion, and you know that all too well. Eventually you will see that this resistance is a tremendous waste of energy. The fact is, you are generally using your will to resist one of the two things: that which has already happened or that which has not happened yet. You are sitting in such resisting impression from the past of or thoughts about the future. Think of how much energy is wasted resisting what has already happened. Since the event has already passed, you are actually struggling with yourself, not with the event. In addition, contemplate how much energy is wasted resisting what might happen, since most of the things you think might happen never do. You are just throwing your energy away. How you deal with your energy flow has a major effect on your life. If you assert your will against the energy of an event that has already happened, it is like trying to stop the ripple caused by a leaf drop into a still lake. Anything you do causes more disturbance, not less. When you resist, the energy has no place to go. It gets stuck in your physique and seriously affect you. It blocks your heart's energy flow and causes you to feel close and less vibrant. This is literally what is happening when something is waiting on your mind, or when things just to get too heavy for you. This is the human predicament. Events have happened and we continue to hold their energy instead of us be resisting them. Now, when we face to this event, we are neither prepared to receive them nor capable of digesting them. This is because we are still struggling with the past energies. And over time, the energy can build up to the point that a person becomes so blocked that they either blow up or shut down completely. This is what it means to get stressed out or even totally burn out. There is no reason to get stressed out. There is no reason for blowing up or shutting down. If you do not let this energy build up inside you, but instead allow each moment to each day to pass through you, then you can be as fresh every moment as you would be on a stress-free vacation. It's not life events that are causing problem or stress. It's your resistance to life's event that is causing this experience. Since the problem is caused by using your will to resist the reality of life passing through you, the solution is quite obvious. Stop resisting. If you are going to resist something, at least have some rational basis for resisting, and otherwise you are irrationally wasting precious energy. Be willing to examine the process of resistance. In order to resist, you first must decide that something is not the way you like it. Plenty of events make it right through you. Why did you decide to resist this one? Something inside of you must have a basis for deciding when to simply let things pass through and when to assert willpower to either push them away or cling to them. There are a billion things that do not bother you at all, and you drive to work every day and you hardly notice the building and trees, the white lines on the road that do not stress you out at all. You see them, that they pass right through you. Do not assume, however, it that way for everyone. Someone who paints streets line for a living could get very stressed out if those white lines were not even. In fact, they could get so stressed out that they refuse to drive down the road anymore. It's clear that not all of us resist the same things or have the same issues. This is because we don't all have the same preconceived notions of how things should be or how much they should matter to us. If you want to understand stress, begin by realizing that you carry around with you your own side of preconceived notion of how things should be. It is based upon this notion that you assert your will to resist what has already happened. Where did you get this preconceived notion? Let's say that seeing azaleas in bloom stresses you out. Surely that does not bother most people. Why does it bother you? All we need to know is that you once had a girlfriend who grew azaleas and she broke up with you when they were in bloom. Now, every time you see azaleas in bloom, your heart closes. You don't even want to go near the things. You just create a much disturbance for you. And this personal event that take place in our life leave impression on our minds and hearts. This impression become the basis for asserting our will to either resist or cling. It's no deeper than that. The event may have happened in your childhood or at various points throughout your life, regardless of when they happened. The life impression inside of you now. Based on this past impression, you are resisting the current event that are taking place. This creates inner tension, turmoil, struggle, and suffering. Instead of seeing this and refusing to allow this past event to run your life, you buy into them, believing they have real meaning. You put all your heart and soul into either resisting or clinging, but in truth, this entire process has no real meaning. It destroys your life. The alternative is to use life to let go of those impressions and the stress they create. In order to do this, you have to become very conscious. You have to carefully watch the mental voice that tells you to resist something. It literally commands you, I don't like what he said, fix it. It gives you advice and let you to confront the world by resisting things. Why do you listen to it? Let your spiritual path become the willingness to let whatever happen make it through you rather than carrying it into the next moment. Then does not mean you don't deal with what happened. You are welcome to deal with it. But first let the energy make it through you. If you do not, you will not actually be dealing with the current event. You'll be dealing with your own blocked energies from the past. You will not be becoming from the place of clarity, but from a place of inner resistance and tensions. And to avoid this, begin dealing with each situation with acceptance. Acceptance means that event can make it through you without resistance. If an event takes place and is able to make it through your physique, you'll be left face to face with the actual situation as it truly exists, since you are dealing with the actual event rather than stored energies stimulated by the event. You want to start reactive energy from your past. You will find that you are able to deal with daily situation much better. It is actually possible to never have another problem through the rest of your life. This is because events are not problem, they are just event. Your resistance to them is what causes the problem. But again, don't think that because you accept reality, it means you don't deal with things. You do deal with them. You just deal with them as events that are taking place on the planet Earth and not as personal problem. You will be surprised to find that in most situations there is nothing to deal with except for your own fears and desire. Fear and desire make everything seem so complicated. If you don't have fear or desire even about an event, there is really nothing to deal with. You simply allow life to unfold and interact with it in a natural and rational manner. When the next thing happens, you are fully present in that moment and simply enjoying the experience of life. There are no problem. It's all about no problem, no tension, no stress, no burnout. And when the event of this world make it through you, you have reached a deep spiritual state. You can then be conscious in the presence of whatever takes place without building up block energy. When you attain the state, everything becomes clear. In contrast, everybody else in it is attempting to deal with the world around them while struggling with their own reaction and personal preferences. When a person is dealing with their own fears, anxieties, and desires, how much energy is left for dealing with what's actually happening? Stop and think about what you are capable of achieving. Up to now, your capacities have been constrained by constant inner struggle. Imagine what would happen if your awareness was free to focus only on the event actually taking place. You would have no noise going on inside. If you lived like this, you could do anything. Your capabilities would be exponential compared to what you have ever experienced. If you could bring this level of awareness and clarity to everything you do, your life will change. So, as your path, you take on the work of using life to let go of your resistance. Relationships are a great way to work with yourself. Imagine if you use the relationship to get to know other people rather than to satisfy what is blocked inside of you. If you're not trying to make people fit into your preconceived notion of what you like and dislike, you will find that relationships are not really that difficult. If you are not so busy judging and resisting people based upon what is blocked inside of you, you'll find that they are much easier to get along with, and so are you. Letting go of yourself is the simplest way to get closer to your others. And the same is true in your daily work. Daily work is fun. In fact, it's easy. Your work is just what you do with yourself during the day while you are spinning on a planet through empty space. If you want to be content and enjoy your work, you have to let go of yourself and let events flow through you. Your real work is what is left to do after all else passes through. Once the personal energies pass through you, the world becomes a different place. People and events will appear different to you. You will realize that you have talent and ability you never saw before. Your whole view of life will change. Every single thing in this world will look like it's being transformed. This happened because as you let go in one situation, it affects your clarity for other situation. For example, let's say you are afraid of dog, you come to realize that other people are not afraid and they make it through life. Since you have been afraid of your whole life, you suffer while others didn't. That suffering had no meaning, so you decide to work with your fear and relax when you see a dog. And the way to work with resistance is by relaxing. That act of relaxing through your personal resistance not only changes your relationship with God, it changes your relationship with everything. Your soul has now learned how to let disturbing energies pass through. And the next time somebody says or does something you don't like, you automatically treat it as the same as you did the fear of doubt. This process of relaxing through resistance is beneficial to everything in your life. This is because it directly addresses how to keep your heart open when it is trying to close. Deep inner release is a spiritual path in and of itself. It is the path of non-resistance, the path of acceptance, the path of surrender. It is about not resisting energy as they pass through you. If you have difficulty doing this, don't get down on yourself. Just keep working with it. It's the work of a lifetime to become that open, that complete, and that whole. The key is to just relax and realize that the deal only with that what's left in front of you. You do not need to worry about the rest. If you relax and release, you will see that it puts you through tremendous spiritual growth. You will start to feel an enormous amount of energy awaken inside of you. You will feel much more love than you have ever felt before. You will feel more peace, contentment, and eventually nothing will ever disturb you again. You truly can reach a state in which you never have any more stress, tension, or problem for the rest of your life. You just have to realize that life is giving you a gift, and that gift is the flow of event that takes place between your birth and your death. These events are exciting, challenging, create tremendous growth, and comfortably handle this flow of life. Your heart and mind must be open and expansive enough to encompass reality. The only reason they are not is because you resist. Learn to stop resisting reality, and what used to look like stressful problem will begin to look like the stepping stone of your spiritual journey. 17. Contemplating death. It is truly a great cosmic paradox that one of the best teachers in all of time turns out of that to be death. No person or situation could ever teach you as much as death has to teach you. While someone could tell you that you are not your body, death shows you. While someone could remind you of the insignificance of the thing that you cling to, death takes them all away in a second. While people can teach you the men and women of all races are equal and that there is no difference between the rich and the poor, death instantly makes us all the same. The question is, Are you going to wait until the last moment to let death be your teacher? The mere possibility of death has the power to teach us that any the breath may not come back in. It could happen any time, in any place, and your last breath is gone. You have to learn from this. A wise being completely and totally embraces the reality, the inevitability, and the unpredictability of death. Anytime you are having trouble with something, think of death. Let's say you are jealous type and you cannot stand anymore anyone being close to you or meet. Think about what will happen when you are no longer here. It is really all that romantic that your loved ones should live alone with no one to care for them. If you can get past your personal issues, you will find that you want the person you love to be happy and to have a full and beautiful life, since that is what you want for them. Why are you bothering them now? Just for talking to someone. It shouldn't take that to challenge you to live at your highest level. Why wait until everything is taken from you before you learn to dig down deep inside yourself to reach your highest potential? A wise person affirms. If with one breath all of this can change, then I want to live at the highest level while I'm alive. I'm going to stop bothering the people I love. I'm going to live life from the deepest part of my being. This is the consciousness necessary for a deep and meaningful relationship. Look how callous we get with our loved one. We take it for granted that they are there, and they will continue to be there for us. What if they died? And what if you died? What if you knew that if this evening would be the last time you would go to see them? Imagine that an angel comes down and tells you, straighten up your affairs. You will not wake from your sleep tonight. You are coming to me. Then you would know that every person you see that day you will be seeing for the last time. How would you feel? How would you interact with them? How would you even bother with the little grudges and complaints you have been carrying around? How much love could you give the ones you love, knowing it would be the last time you would get to be with them? And think about what it would be like if you lived like that every moment with everyone. Your life will be really different. You should contemplate this. Death is not a morbid thought. Death is the greatest teacher in all of life. Take a moment to look at these things you think you need. Look at how much time and energy you put into various activity. Imagine if you knew you were going to die within a week or a month. How would that change things? How would you prioritize changes? How would your thoughts change? Think honestly about what you would do with your last week. What a wonderful thought to contemplate. Then ponder these questions. If that's really what you will do with your last week, what are you doing with the rest of your time? Wasting it, throwing it away, treating it like it's not something precious? What are you doing with life? This is what death asks you. Let's say you are living life without the thought of death, and the angel of death comes to you and says, come, it's time to go. You say, but no, you are supposed to give me a warning so I can decide what I want to do with my last week. I'm supposed to get my one more week. Do you know what death will say to you? He will say, my God, I gave you 52 weeks this past your year alone, and look at all the other week I have given you. Why would you need one more? What did you do with all those? If I ask that, what are you going to say? How will you answer? I was not paying attention. I didn't think it mattered. That's a pretty amazing thing to say about your life. Death is a great teacher, but who live with a level of awareness? It doesn't matter what age you are. At any time you could take a breath and there may never be another. It happens all the time, to babies, to teenagers, to people in midlife, not just to the aged. One breath and they are gone. No one knows when their time will be, and that's not how it works. So why not be bold enough to regularly reflect on how you would live that last week? If you were to ask this question to people who are truly awakened, they wouldn't have any problem answering you. Not a thing would change inside of them. Not a thought would cross their mind. If that were to come in an hour, if that were to come in a week, or if that were to come in a year, they would live exactly the same way as they are living now. There is no single thing they carry inside of their heart that they would rather be doing. In other words, they are living their life fully and are not making compromise or playing games with themselves. You have to be willing to look at what it would be like if death was staring you in the face. Then you have to come to peace within yourself so that it doesn't make any difference whether it is or not. There is a story of a great yogi who said that every moment of his life he felt as though a sword was suspended above his head by a spider web. He lived his life with an awareness that he was that close to death, and you are that close to death every time you get in the car, every time you walk across the street, and every time you eat something. It could be the last thing you do. Do you realize that what you are doing at any moment is something that someone was doing when they died? He died eating dinner, he died in a car accident, the miles from his home, he died in a plane wreck on a trip to New York, and yeah, no matter what are you doing, you can be sure somebody died that way. You must not be afraid to discuss death. Don't get uptight about it. Instead, let this knowledge help you to live every moment of your life fully, because every moment matters. That's what happens when somebody knows they only have a week left. You can be certain that they would tell you that the most important week they ever had was the last week. Everything is a million times more meaningful in that final week. What if you were to live every week that way? At this point, you should ask yourself why. You are not living that way. You are going to die, you know that. You just don't know when. Every single thing will be taken from you. You will leave behind your possessions, your loved one, and all the hopes and dreams for this life. You'll be taken right out of where you are. You will no longer be able to feel the role you were so busy playing. That changes everything in a flash. That's the reality of the situation. If all this thing can be changed in an instant, then maybe they're not so real after all. Maybe you would better check out who you are. Maybe you should look deeper. And the beauty of embracing that deep truth is that you don't have to change your life. You just change how you live your life. It's not what you are doing, it's how much of you is doing it. Let's take a very simple example. You have walked outside thousands of times, but how many times have you really appreciated it? Imagine a person in a hospital bed who has just been told they have got a week to live. They look up at the doctor and say, can I walk outside? Can I look at the sky just one more time? If it were raining outside, I would want to feel the rain just once more. And for them, that would be the most precious thing. But you don't want to feel the rain. You run and cover up. What is it that one let us life over life? What is inside of us that is so afraid that it keeps us from just enjoying life? This part of us is so busy trying to make sure that the thing goes right, that we cannot just be there now and live life all the while that is watching our footsteps. Don't you want to leave before that comes? You're probably not going to get a warning. Very few people are told when they are going to die. Almost everybody just take a breath and does not know they didn't take another. So start using every day to let go of that scared part of you that won't let you live life fully, since you know you are going to die. Be willing to say that needs to be said, and do what needs to be done. Be willing to be fully present without being afraid of what you will happen in the next moment. And that's how people live when they face death. You get to do that too, because you're facing that every moment. Learn to live as though you are facing that at all times, and you'll become bolder and more open. If you live life fully, you won't have any last wishes. You will have lived them every moment. There is no reason to be afraid of life, and the fear will fade once you understand that the only thing there is to get from life is the growth that comes from experiencing it. Life itself is your career, and your interaction with the life is your most meaningful relationship. Everything else you are doing is just focusing on a tiny subset of life in an attempt to give life some meaning. What actually gives life meaning is the willingness to live it, and it's not any particular event, it's the willingness to experience life's event. What if you knew that the next person you would see be the last person you would ever see? You would be right there soaking it in and experiencing it. So, instead of getting lost in a normal mental chatter, why not contemplate the temporal nature of life? Why not think about something meaningful? Don't be afraid of that. Let it free you, let it encourage you to experience life fully, but remember, it's not your life. You should be experiencing the life that's happening to you, not the one you wish was happening. Don't waste a moment of life trying to make other things happens. Appreciate the moment you are given. Don't you understand that every minute you are a step closer to death? This is how to live your life. You live it as tough. You are on the verge of death because you are. 18. The secret of the middle way. No discussion of living life as a spiritual pattern is complete without addressing one of the deepest of all spiritual teachings. The Tao teaching, it is discussed that which is very difficult to discuss. That which Lao Tzu called the Tao, pronounced Tao, literally translated, this means the way. The Tao is so subtle that one can only talk around its edges but never actually touch it. And that three ties, the very basis for the principle of all of life is laid down. It is a three ties on a balance of yin and yang, the feminine and the masculine, the dark and the light. You could easily write the Tao Te Ching and never understand a single word, or you could read it enters your cold pour from your eyes with every word you read. The question is, do you bring it to the knowledge, the understanding, and the basis for comprehending what it is attempting to express? Unfortunately, spiritual teaching often masks the essence of truth with mystical words, but this balance, this Tao, is actually very simple. Those who have truly learned the secret of life recognize this truth without having read anything. If you want to understand the Tao, you must take it very slowly and keep it very simple. Otherwise, you might miss it. Though it is right in front of you. It is best to approach the Tao through some very simple, almost rhetorical questions. For example, is it good for a person to eat sometimes? Yes, obviously it is. It is good for a person to eat all the time? No, of course not. Somewhere in between, you pass over the Tao. Is it good to fast periodically? Yes, it is good to never eat. No. The pendulum can swing all the way from gorging yourself to death to starving yourself to death. Those are the two extremes of the pendulum, the yin and the yang, expansion and the contraction, non-doing and doing. Everything has two extremes. Everything has gradation of this pendulum swing. If you go to the extreme, you cannot survive. That's how the extremes are real. Yeah. 19. The loving eyes of God. How can anyone really know anything about God? We have so many teachings, so many concepts, and so many views about God, but they have all been touched by people in the end. It's amazing how much our ideas about God conforms to the different cultures from which they come. Fortunately, deep within us, there is a direct connection to the divine. There is a part of our being that is beyond the personal self. You can consciously choosing to identify with that part rather than with the physique or the body. When you do this, the natural transformation begins to take place within you. And over time, as you observe this transformation, you will see what it's like to be coming toward God. You actually begin to know what it feels like to be moving in the direction of spirit. The changes you see within you are reflective of the force you are approaching, just as rain makes you wet and fire makes you warm. So you can know the nature of God by looking into the mirror of your transformed self. This is not a philosophy, it's a direct experience. Spiritual growth can be experienced just like anything else. You may have experienced a time in your life when you felt a lot of negativity, anger, and resentment. You know how that feels. And you know how you feel toward other when you are feeling that way. You know how your heart feels and you know what your thoughts and actions are like. You know that space is not a philosophy, it's a direct experience. If you grow past that part of you, over time you will actually drift away from the feeling of tension and anxiety. The entire cool cloud of lower vibration will appear farther and farther away from where you sit inside. The cloud may still be there, but if you don't identify with it or hold onto it, it can no longer hold onto you. As you realize the lower vibration, you naturally stop thinking they are you or that there is nothing you have to do about them. As you let go of them, your spirit drifts upward. How do you know? Your spirit drift upward. You know that same way you know that you are breathing, the same way you know that your heart beats, and the same way you know that you have thoughts. You are in there and you directly experience it. What does it mean to drift upward? It's an experience of being drawn further back inside yourself. You are no longer held down to your earthly self, so you begin to feel more spaciousness inside. You feel that there is more of a distance between you and the thoughts and emotion inside of you. You drift back and then in and up. How does it feel when you drift up? You don't feel as much anger, fear, or self-consciousness. You don't feel resentment toward people. You don't close or get tight as often. Things still happen that you don't want to happen, but they don't seem to touch you as much. They cannot reach back to where you are because you have drifted behind the part of you that react to things. These are actual experiences, not merely something you were told about. It's just what naturally happens when you let go of the lower vibration of your being. You drift in and up into the deeper vibration. And where are you going? Even if you have no basis for understanding what is happening to you, are still having the undeniable experience of going somewhere. What you begin to feel is that you are going into the spiritual being as you associate less with the physical and the psychological part of your being. You begin to identify more with the flow of pure energy. What does it feel like to identify more with the spirit than with a form? You used to walk around feeling excited and tension. Now you walk around feeling love. You just feel love for no reason. Your backdrop is love. Your backdrop is openness, beauty, and appreciation. You don't have to make yourself feel that way. That is how spirit feels. If you were asked how the body normally feels, you might say that it's generally uncomfortable about one thing or another. How about the physique? If you are being totally honest, you would probably say that it's generally full of complaint and fears. Well, how does spirit normally feel? The truth is, it always feels good. It always feels high. It always feels open and light. Because of this, you naturally begin to center more and more on the spiritual part of your being. You do this not by reaching for spirit, but by letting go of the rest. There really is no other way. The personal self cannot touch spirit. You must release the personal self. As you release it, you drift back. As you go further back, you get higher. You get higher in vibration and higher in the amount of love and lightness that you feel, and you just begin to soar. This happens in an ever increasing continuous progression. As you let go and willingly release the physical, emotional, and mental aspect of your being, spirit becomes your state. You don't claim to understand what is happening to you. You just know that as you go farther and farther back, it gets more and more beautiful. You naturally begin to experience the vibration that were described by the great saints and sages of different traditions. You realize that you, too, can have deep spiritual experiences and being. Thanks for listening. I wish you have a great day.